Yes, hello everyone. Oh, there's still some people joining. This is Will van der Sanden, the founder of Dux-Soup, doing the honors today of showing some new cool stuff in Dux-Soup with Zapier. The session will be, I think, about a 20 minutes demo, and after the demo we'll have a Q&A of about 10 minutes, depending on obviously the number of questions. For those who can't attend, also for those who want to see what actually they saw in the last hour, once it's passed, there will be a recording made available via the website, and we'll send out a link with a recording to everyone who registered for the webinar. And yeah, so the topic for today is to build an action log in with Zapier and Dux-Soup. Let me just share my screen here. Right. So this is what we're looking at now. So I'm gonna show you how to build an action log in Google Sheets with Dux-Soup. Now, before I do that, though, I would like to give our new head of customer service, Jin, a quick a few seconds on the microphone to just say hi to all you. Jin?
Nice meeting you all. So I'm new head of customer support for Dux-Soup. Been working with Dux-Soup for over a year. Maybe met some of you on live chat or answering your emails, and hopefully we will have fun with Dux-Soup for many, many years.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks, Jin.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. And so Jin will be taking the questions via the chat and collecting them during the demo, and also during the Q&A time. So if you have questions for Jin, just send them on the chat. She'll make sure that after the demo I get them, and then I'll go through them one by one. So that's the process or the procedure for today. Right. So an action log in Google Sheets with Dux-Soup. Well, to do that, I've opened a few tabs already that I'm going to need for this demo. So we're going to need to look at the Dux-Soup options. So that's why I'm just leaving it open here. I have one tab open. We're looking at Zapier. And Zapier is obviously going to, it's going to do it's going to actually create the action items in the Google Sheet based on the triggers from Dux-Soup. We also have a tab open here with Google Sheets, and well, that's because this is where the data will land. And I've also opened up a tab here to our support site, which has many good articles about how to use remote control with Zapier, which is exactly what we need for this demo. Well, the first step in this scenario is to add the Dux-Soup library to your Zapier account. Now, when you go to this particular article, the sending remote control commands with Zapier, there is a link here which points to the library. At the moment, you can't find the library just by searching in Zapier. I can show you here if you go to Zapier and then try and find Dux. See, no results. They will actually change very soon because we've reached the required number of integrations, so we can now actually promote our integration. But for now, when you try this at home, so to speak, you will need to go to this page here and then click on this link. and that will then allow you to click here to gain access to the Dux-Soup integration. So let's click on that, and then you click on accept, invite, and build Zap. Okay, which is what we're going to do. So now we're back on the. I'll just close this tab to avoid confusion. Right, so we're going to make a Zap. The Zap, like a lot of Zaps that you use with Dux-Soup, they will start with a webhook, and it's actually it's a generic one here. It says here webhooks by Zapier. You can also just search for webhook. As you can see, this is a premium feature. This is actually something that changed quite recently in Zapier, because before this was part of the free free functionality, but it's no longer. So, but this is what you need: a webhook by Zapier, and what a webhook does, it will listen for data to be received on a particular address, and that always concerns a web address. So it's called to catch a hook. I mean, it's all just terminology, but it means receiving data. So when you click on continue here, then I generally always prefer to use silent mode. I have the belief that results in a more reliable integration. So that's why I set it up like that. Now the next thing to do is copy this data, and this is the actual web address which has now been generated for me, that I can put in Dux-Soup options. Right, so go to Dux-Soup options. Well, just in case you are familiar, but Dux-Soup options are here. When you click on that, you generally end up on the Actions tab. Go to the Connect tab, and then you paste this address just in here. And because we're creating an action log, which is going to record all the automated activity that we're going to generate on the different LinkedIn profiles. So you can see the option to enable visits, scan, action, message, and remote control events. And just to show you again, as well, where you can find what this all means. There is an article, webhook by example, that contains all the different types of events. So these all map excuse me, to these options, and the ones we're interested in now is the action one. So it's this one here. When you click here, it will take you to the action section, and so these are the actions that we're going to be logging. And so we have connect profile, disconnect profile, endorse profile, follow profile, email profile, message profile, PDF profile, and save as lead profile. And all these, they actually correspond to the actions that you can find here. So sending a connection request, a personalized message, an email, etc. So in the same way that you can enable the actions here, here you can enable that you want to record those actions, or you can record the fact that those actions have been fired. So I'm going to disable all the events except for the action, and I switch on the webhook, right? And that's pretty much all the configuration that we need in Dux-Soup. Because now what happens when you go to LinkedIn, and I will do that now as well, and when I trigger an action, Dux-Soup will in effect send the data describing the action to that webhook address that I just specified. So actually, before we go there, just going back to Zapier, I need to click continue here on Zapier, and that's because now what happens in Zapier, it gives me the opportunity to send some test data to Zapier, And the reason you need the test data is because without having that data, it's really difficult to determine well, what fields you want to read and where you want to map them to. So it's always best to make sure that you capture some data at this stage in the configuration process. So when you click on test and review, it's going to listen for events, and oh, that's always really convenient, isn't it? Right. So now I go to LinkedIn. I'm just going to do a search for growth hacker, and it's going to be a people search, and I will just look for France, for example, and I will look for second-degree connections. Okay, so this is just the result, and yeah, so for the action to trigger, or for the webhook to trigger, I need to make sure that I send some trigger some actions. So I'm going to send some connection requests, or actually just a one to this person, and when the action completes, then I will go back to Zapier, and Zapier will have received the action details. So let's just wait for this to run. So it's got the profile. It's going to do some steps here, basically just opening the contact info. And now it's going to send the connection request, as you can see here. Okay. And you can see it happening here. You squint, right. And so that's successful. Okay, and now it's going to stop the robot. Because that's all I need for now. And then go back to Zapier. And then when I just have I might have to refresh this. Okay, and so this is the data that was just pulled in into the webhook. As you can see here, it's got the message that was sent. It's got the kind of action that was taken. It's got the URL that was of the profile that was used. It also shows you well the user ID. So that's the basically the user that is logged into Dux-Soup. Whether or not it was successful. If it's not, it will also contain an error. The profile ID, which is the unique ID that you can also use to correlate other events in Dux-Soup, but we'll save that for a different demo. The time when this all happened, which is always it's called Zulu time, which is it's not in a particular time zone. It's always the zero or the it's a bit like GMT, but it's actually called Zulu time. Well, the type of event is an action, and it has completed. Okay, so with that, I'll go to done editing, and so now I've got the data here. So the next thing I do is I want to populate a sheet, right? So I'm going to go to Google Sheets and create a new spreadsheet. So it's going to so let's go to webinar action log. Okay, right. So now when you use a Google Sheet in conjunction with Zapier, you always need to make sure you put in header rows. So in here, I need to specify basically the names of the fields that I want to copy. So it's going to be an ID of the profile. I want the URL. I want the action type, and well, the action parameter. Right, so now this sheet exists here. Going back to Zapier, I'm just gonna click on Google Sheets. And the next step, I need to select that I want to create a spreadsheet row. Okay. All right, so now I click on continue. Actually, okay. Oh yeah, so now I need to select which account. So I already have an account set up, which is this one here, the team at Dux-Soup. And then just connects to your Google account, which is the owner of the spreadsheet. And once you've done that, then in the spreadsheet here, it will find, there you go, the webinar action log, which I just created, and the worksheet, which is just the sheet inside the, it's just sheet 1. So, right, so you can see here, it's this thing here, where it says sheet 1. And next, you can see here, these are the columns I created. So there's the ID, the URL, the action type, and the action parameter. So those all correspond to these ones that I just created. And now what it's asking me to do is to map the data from the action event that was received to these columns. Right. So the first one is the ID, which is the profile ID. And like I said, it's just a unique identifier of the LinkedIn profile that is useful, especially when you correlate different events, but also save data, for example, because this ID will always be the same. Then there's the URL, which is this one here, the target URL. And well, actually, when preparing for this demo, I noticed that in the current release, there is a slight problem with this, where the target URL is not showing properly. So when you try this, you might find that this is not really the value you're seeing. But there will be, we'll get a release out probably tonight or tomorrow, but we'll address that. The action type is this one here, the connect profile. And there's the parameter, which is the message that I can also pull into the spreadsheet. Now, when I click on continue, it's going to show me the mapping that I just created. So the spreadsheet, the worksheet within the spreadsheet, the ID, etc., all the stuff I just set up. And now you'll see now when I click on test and review, it's actually going to create the first row in the spreadsheet. So now you see there's nothing here at the moment. But now when you go back and now click on test and review, and I'll go back to the spreadsheet, you see, so now the row has been created. So this row here. Unfortunately, the formatting of this, because there are line feeds in here, is not great. I don't know why it can't do that nicer than this, but what is cool though is that it allows you to track this way, well, that you've sent someone a connection request and exactly what message you or what template you use for that message. See, another thing I wanted to add, so I'm just going to add another column here because we do want to have the time. So I'm just going to delete this row. And I'm going to go back to customize. And I need to, okay. Okay, go back here, customize row, sheet. Okay, now I need to tell it to refresh the fields. Okay, so when you do that, you do need to, because it's not very clever in remembering what happened where. So now the timestamp, because that is obviously very important when you have a log. Otherwise, you don't know when things happened. So let me just quickly remap these fields. Action type is connect, and action parameter is the message here. Okay. So target URL. Okay, continue. And now when I test, I will get the. I'll also get the timestamp. So let's just run this. Go back here. Right. So now you see. I get the timestamp, the ID, the URL, the action, and the parameter. And now when I, well, just leave this here. So this is now done editing. And in fact, all I need to do is name this app. So log Dux actions. I'll call that and switch on this app. And now when I just go back in here, and I'll just invite a few people. In fact, I mean, all the actions are being logged. Not the visits themselves. You can also incorporate visits if you want, but then you need to include visit events. But for the action log, which is really focused on the automated actions, there you can log the connection request message or the direct messages, endorsing of profiles. And what is really neat is that it will log these events regardless of how the action was triggered. So now I'm triggering the actions using the auto visit, and especially because within Turbo with the follow-up feature, this will also allow you to log when a message was sent or when a follow-up was sent. So all the automated actions that are triggered, regardless of how they're triggered, they will be sent to this particular webhook. And when you run this, when you run a Zap like this in the background, it really gives you a good view of all the activity that you've generated over a particular duration of time. So let me just wait for this profile to finish. Okay. And obviously, once you know what actions you've done on which profiles, it will give you an idea of what sort of actions work for your audience and which actions don't work. You can also later on maybe include even like connection acceptance or connection or message replies. You could also include all those in your action log. But like I said, that's all for a later webinar. Let's get the basics done right first, right? So, okay, I've done a few more actions, and now I'm going to go back here. You see, so it's logged these actions. So these profiles I've invited, all with this parameter, and these are the different timestamps. Okay, well, this is the action log, and from here I will start with the Q&A. I will just ask Jin to send me some questions.
For you?
Yeah, if you want to read them out to me.
Yeah. Sure. So George is asking, my test data never finds an email address. Why?
Well, I would suggest you get in touch with support for that. It's not really related to the topic of the webinar.
Thank you. Is it also possible to track in this way who has accepted the connection request? Lucian.
Okay, so can you also track the connection request? Yes, you can also include that. You will actually need to, so with the current configuration that I've just set up, and you can still see my screen, right, Jin?
Yes.
Okay, hang on, go to options. So at the moment I've selected only actions, and the actions or the action events are the ones that are described in this article here, which is really just are the events that occur when an automated action is done by Dux-Soup. If you also want to include acceptance messages, then you will need to use the message here, the message events. However, you will need to build a separate ZAP for that, and but this a different ZAP that will then write to the same spreadsheet. But in the future webinar, what I will do is I will show you how you can sort of correlate this data in your spreadsheet. But if you want to try it now, basically the key element here is to look for this ID. So when you receive a message like this, then you can use this ID to find the particular profile in the spreadsheet, and that way you can easily log the acceptance of the message inside the same row as the one created by the action event. Okay, Jen?
So is it possible to also log the LinkedIn person who has accepted your connection request?
Yeah, so yes, that is possible. It's in effect the same as what I just said. So the acceptance messages and the reply messages, they are of this type of event. So those are not actions. Actions is activity triggered by Dux-Soup in an automated fashion. Messages will include all the messages, the acceptance messages, and the member-to-member messages between yourself and the prospect. So if you were to include, basically, or create another ZAP with a different address, and then have it populate the same spreadsheet, then you can put all that data inside the same spreadsheet. Okay, Jen?
Yeah. Eric is asking, how would you use this action to log follow-up with the second message? Would that be possible?
Yeah, so it will actually, the way that I've just set it up, it will already log all automated actions. So if you have enabled follow-up messages and they've been scheduled, as you probably have seen, what happens is Dux-Soup will then, when the time is ready for a follow-up, it will open a tab and open a profile and send a message. Now, if you have all that set up in your automated follow-up messages, then the current configuration of the ZAP that I've just done will already do that. So it will already include it will have a instead of a connect profile, it will create this message. It will create one of those actions, which is the direct message action. But yeah, you'll see that if you were to add this little configuration to your current configuration that is already sending follow-ups, then it will start logging those events as well.
Michael is asking, can you talk about why this is a beneficial process to have in place?
Well, the benefit of is all about visibility of what activity you've generated against which profile, so that you can then start to determine what to do next, right? Because let's say that you've sent certain messages to certain people about an event that you're organizing, then you don't want to send it again, right? So that's one reason. But also from a sort of A/B testing perspective, it will allow you to compare the different logs and see which activity has generated more connection acceptance messages down the line. So it's all about making the activity that has been executed by Dux-Soup, making that visible, turning that into data, and once you have that data, you can use that to to fine tune your process.
Connection request for a new connection as a trigger, from a new connection as a trigger.
A connection request that you receive from someone is never an action. So a connection request that you receive, well, once you accept, it will turn into an event of the message type, but it will not turn into an event of the action type. So in the current setup, no, that wouldn't translate into an entry in the log in this case.
Thank you. And the last question so far, Eric is asking, does the message event work for both Sales Navigator and the standard inbox?
Yes, so it works for all versions of LinkedIn as well. Although on the recruiter side, it's only really Recruiter Lite at the moment. But yeah, all the activity that is automatically done in Dux-Soup and the events that are generated is always regardless of the version of LinkedIn you're using. So yes, definitely when you send a connection request or when you send a direct message. Or when you do a follow profile in Sales Navigator, all those actions will also end up as action events, and in this configuration as rows in your log file.
Very interested to know why would he use this process versus the download data function?
Well, the download data function does not include the actions that you've executed. When you download the data in with Dux-Soup, and so when we're talking about this function here, this just downloads the profiles that have been captured since the last time you cleared the cache, and it won't tell you which actions. It won't tell you if you send a connection request to someone or so. The data in the action log is like an enrichment of that data set.
Last question from Tom. So if the connection request is accepted and the person replies to you, can this reply message be logged also? So I presume he's asking straight away if the connection is accepted. Can Dux-Soup just transfer the message into Google Sheet?
Yeah, sure. And I think I will have to show you this in the next webinar. But no, definitely you can. It's basically what I've explained just a bit earlier. When an acceptance occurs in Dux-Soup, it will trigger a message event, and you can basically just add another entry here that points to a different tab that will populate the message into the same spreadsheet. So you can, but what I've built so far was only focusing on the actions.
Last question, I presume Peter is asking, is there a recommended CRM that combines well with Dux-Soup and LinkedIn Sales Navigator? Do you have anything you could offer?
I wouldn't go as far as recommending a CRM. I think you generally want to look at a CRM that supports the inbound marketing approach. And from what I understand, a package like Pipedrive is quite good at that. But whether or not you want to use Pipedrive or something similar is determined by your processes that you use in your lead generation. But from an integration perspective, purely, there's no real difference. Dux-Soup will either play nicely with when using Zapier, but also it is really for if you have a CRM system and you have a developer working on the customization of the system, it will be trivial for that developer to link the two together without the use of Zapier as well.
We have one question.
Okay, final question. Okay.
Yeah, final question. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, no problem.
Just a person is asking if HubSpot would be the CRM you would offer. You would recommend? I don't know.
Well, recommend. Well, so like I said, it's I don't really go around recommending CRM systems. From integration perspective, it definitely works with Zapier as well. From what I've seen with the process of inbound marketing is not always suitable for a system like HubSpot, and it's mainly because when you create a contact in HubSpot, you need their email address, and yeah, that you might not actually have that of a lot of prospects that are in your funnel. So if your process depending on your process, really, that's how you need to select your CRM. Not from an integration perspective, they will all work. Okay. Hang on, let me see where I am. Okay, well, Jim, thank you, and everyone, thanks for attending. We'll be organizing another webinar soon, and if you let us know what sort of topics you wanted to discuss, that will be great. It will allow us to really be just going straight to the topic of interest. So hopefully it was useful. There will be an email out with the recording, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.